Hello and welcome to the Orthodox View, where we discuss latest religious news from an Orthodox Christian perspective. I am its host, Philip Champion. A unique religious event took place in the Russian town Pereslava-Zalesky. In the old cathedral of the Trinity at St. Daniel's Monastery, at night, with the lighting switched off but with a special illumination of the 17th century frescoes depicting the Apocalypse, the last book of the New Testament was read out. The Father Superior of the monastery, Igumen Panteleimon Korolev, has shared his impressions with us. I quote, "It was an immersion into the mystical atmosphere of the text of St. John the Theologian, and coming in close contact with frescoes made by the iconographer of genius Gori Nikitin. They impress us as they are, but when what is seen is united with what is heard, it moves one to the bottom of one's heart. It is vivid, it is something to remember, and it inspires to improve one's life." According to the Father Superior, the contemplation of the Apocalypse pictures, just as any immersion into Holy Scriptures, produces a feeling of a closer presence of God and helps people ponder over their life in the perspective of eternity. The metropolis of Montenegro of the Serbian Orthodox Church stated that insulting the faithful does not help stabilize the state, the president of which is Milo Djukanovic. This official statement of the metropolis was issued after the president described in a vulgar manner the church's rites. He used such expressions as to lick the spoon and to crawl on the floor. The metropolis of the Serbian Church stated that it is interesting, since when has the president come to use a vocabulary renouncing the significance of church rites? Such a vocabulary does not fit for serious people. Such indecent expressions insult not only us as Christians, but also people of other denominations in Montenegro, for whom to kneel before God, sometimes on the floor, and if necessary on black soil, is the most sacred action, stated the metropolis of Montenegro. In its press release, the metropolis states that the attitude of Milo Djukanovic as a citizen to church religious rites is his own affair, and cannot be a topic of interest for the public or the church. However, if this citizen is the president of Montenegro, then the church is obliged to react when he publicly insults and humiliates sacred actions taken at our religious assemblies. I quote, "How can he not see that every time he addresses church topics and problems, he personally, and the policy he represents, crumble and lose people's trust?" Ms. Maria Nuha, a 61-year-old resident of London, has had to leave her job. The nurse, who is a Christian, asserts that she has been discriminated and mocked for her refusal to take off or to cover up the small chain with a cross. At present, the English medical nurse is defending her rights at court. The small golden cross that Mary has borne on her neck for over 40 years as a symbol of her Christian faith allegedly poses a security threat and must not be seen. This was decided by the hospital administration in South London. The nurse asserts that she was suspended from clinical duties and demoted to the work at the reception because she had refused to stop wearing the cross. Then she was moved from one administrative post to another until she left the service in August 2020. She says, I quote, "This has always been an attack on my faith. My cross is part of me and my faith, and it has never caused anyone any harm. There are members of staff who wear red bracelets on their wrists, hijabs, and other religious symbols. Yet, a small cross around my neck was deemed so dangerous that I was no longer allowed to do my job." Since April 2020, Moscow priests have visited people with COVID more than 4,000 times. Specially prepared and trained clergy went to hospitals and homes. There are about 20 of such priests. This was reported at the online conference on spiritual help of hospital priests in medical establishments by the head of the Synodal Department for Charity of the Russian Orthodox Church, Bishop Panteleimon. He also reported that the church trained priests for work with COVID patients in 123 dioceses. In her turn, the Vice Prime Minister of the Russian government, Ms. Tatyana Golikova, speaking at the same conference, proposed to establish an institute of hospital chaplains in Russia. The psychological and mental state of patients and charges of medical and social institutions is a subject of specialists in social sphere and healthcare. A special role in creating spiritual conditions favorable for treating people is played by the clergy of the Russian Church. In Russia, we already have a successful experience of cooperation between priests and medical doctors, which is testified both by patients themselves and medical workers. A special writing book has been prepared in the Polish Orthodox Church for teaching the Orthodox faith to preschool children. Puzzles, riddles, labyrinths, coloring pictures, and children's poetry. With the help of all this, a child can get the first knowledge of religion and church. As it is explained in the Polish Orthodox Church, the book will help a child to build right relations with God and teach him or her to address Him in prayers. There are 55 themes in the educational aid. Special attention is given to introduction of children to the world of the Gospel. The book is intended for children from 5 years of age. The visit of Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople to Kiev has played against the head of the Fanar. This opinion was expressed by the Chancellor of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Anthony of Boris and Brovary. According to the hierarch, the whole Orthodox world has seen that what lies behind the decision of Constantinople to legalize the schismatics of the Ukrainian autocephalous Orthodox Church and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Kiev Patriarchate is not a wish of the Ukrainian people. In reality, this step is a scanty support. Let us take at least the solemn meeting of Patriarch Bartholomew at the St. Michael Monastery. As our sociological studies have uniformly stated, those in Ukraine who support the so-called Orthodox Church of Ukraine are alleged to be several times more in number than the faithful of our Church. In accordance with this data, Kiev should have been filled to the limit by crowds meeting the guest. However, only a handful of people came for the solemn welcome. This is all for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time on The Orthodox View.